You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is episode 762 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. The Dressage Radio Show is the official podcast of the United States Dressage Federation. On today's show,
we find out about Amy Bradley's experience as a demo rider at the 2025 USDF FEI Trainers Conference held at High Meadow Farm in Florida this month. Next, we had a great conversation with Eliza Sydnor on the future of our sport.
This is Reese Koffler-Stanfield in Wellington, Florida.
And I am Megan McIsaac in Oregon, Wisconsin, and you are listening to the Dressage Radio Show.
But Megan, you're not in Wisconsin right now, right?
I just realized that.
Megan, where are you right now?
In a valley somewhere in California, trying to make contact with the outside world.
I know, everybody. So Megan, we're going to apologize up front. Today was a technology day. Poor Megan has been trying to log on the internet that is not available in California, apparently. And so she's laughing. Jen is like, on some level, you have to start laughing about things. Poor Megan is like literally in the fire zone. Oh my God, Megan, how are things going to our friends in California who have really, truly lost so much? We are thinking about you and Megan, but we're going to check in with you. How are you besides the internet?
I am great. Besides the internet, it has rained and it has rained a lot. I have never thought I'd be so excited for rain because I actually hate rain. I hate riding in the rain, and it started pouring last night and I was like, woohoo!
You did a rain dance. You like ran outside in your pajamas.
I actually did. I was like, thank you. But for everybody else that had been affected in the fires, it's devastating. It's absolutely devastating. People have lost so much. And then on top of it now, because of the rain, there's mudslides. So it's not going well, but there is positive. Amanda Barr, she put on an auction and raised $60,000 for fire victims. So Amazing. To help our equine community. So yeah, that's how it's going here. It's a little rough this season, but how's your season going, Reese?
I mean, much better. We also have to shout out to everyone basically on the East Coast and South who got snow. I mean, it snowed. I think it snowed.
Alabama.
Alabama. Are you guys okay?
Florida.
Sending out. Oh, I can't even imagine. I mean, it was when it is really cold in South Florida. I mean, there was a day where I was teaching and I was like, this is not fun. Like it was so cold and it's so wet here. Even my parents are in South Florida too, and on the other coast. And my dad was like, it was so cold. Like I looked at the temperature and I was shaking. I was like, oh, I know. I mean, it was cold all the way down here. So it was great. The horses they were insane. I mean, I just at one point just put them in the stalls and I was like, you're double blanketed. Here's some hay. Like we're done. We're done for the day. We're done.
Are they loving it?
Yeah, well, kind of. It was raining sideways. It was cold and really windy. So no, not really. They weren't. My guys weren't loving it. They're South Florida flowers. They were like, "Excuse me, what is happening? Turn the heat back on." But it's coming back around. It's nice. But no training again. Last week was a little rough on everyone. I don't care where you were. There was something going on. But we had the trainers conference last week, and let me just put this out there. I swear, like everyone's like, it's so cold. It is always cold the week of the trainers conference. I'm going to start saying this. Bring blanket.
And it rained too, right?
It rained. It rained and it was cold. But it's always cold that weekend. There's something about it. It's always that like last week of the month of January. It's always awful. Or Martin Luther King. Like it's terrible. So remember that. Megan, help remember that next year. I say that. But
because I'm going to come. No
coming. We're not able to come because of the fires. You had your tickets like booked, but Besides Megan not coming, which would have been amazing, it was a great conference. It was with Monica Titarescu and Christine Schaurig. Both are the chef de keep. Monica's the chef de keep of the German team, and Christine is the chef de keep of the American team, as we know. And they were great. It was one. Sometimes the conference, it can be really hit or miss. This one was fabulous. All the writing was great, and he just hammered going back to basics, which I think was so incredibly important. And again, we talk about it, but here are people that are experts in the field living it. And that was amazing to see. Living it. They were not kidding around. Like, if your horse didn't halt on all 4 feet, you were going to stand there for a while. And it was great. It was great to see that. It was great to hear. So we are going to have an amazing interview with Amy Bradley. Megan was having technical difficulties, so I went ahead.
I was trying.
She was trying, but I went ahead and took this interview because just to keep we didn't want to have her guest wait. But Amy's great, and we're going to have a commercial break from Kentucky Performance Products and get into it with Amy Bradley.
Frequently asked questions brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. My older gelding is having trouble holding his weight, and I'm afraid to feed him any more senior feed. He gets all the hay he wants. What do you recommend? Many older horses are eventually unable to maintain acceptable body condition on a typical diet of hay and grain alone. When you want to add calories without the risk of digestive upset, we recommend EquiJewel Rice Bran. It is an excellent source of easy-to-digest calories for older horses. The fat in EquiJewel is a concentrated energy source. It will increase calorie consumption and improve body condition without risking grain overload. Start your older horse on 1/4 pound per day and work up to 1 or 2 pounds per day over a few weeks. Remember, small meals fed 3 to 4 times per day will help your older horse better utilize the feed. You can learn more about EquiJewel at kppusa.com. Got questions about your feeding program? We can help. Email Karen at questions@kppusa.com or call us at 859-873-2974.
Well, tonight we are so excited to have Amy Bradley on from Wellington, Florida. She earned a USDF bronze, silver, and gold medalist with distinction and currently a large R judge. And she just won last year the U.S. Dressage National Grand Prix Championship. And Amy was a wonderful demo rider at the Adequan 2025 USDF FEI Trainers Conference. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I know, we're thrilled. You came on because tell us again, you were very instrumental in awards, right, at USDF? So you've been on the show before.
I'm the chair. Yeah, I'm the chair for the awards committee.
Oh, God love you. That's a big one. So we thank you for all of us.
No problem.
Working hard for all those medals and the medals of distinction. I know you were big in that one. So I love it. But Amy, you rode an amazing horse. I would want to say weekend, but it was actually Monday, Tuesday, when we were having the Arctic freeze in Wellington, which was actually pretty cold. And so tell us about I Spy.
So he is a Oldenburg gelding that I bought off of a 3-week-old foal video. So obviously like 8 years ago. I just fell in love with him because of, he has such unique markings, and he was just the cutest little foal. And he was just kind of, going around with his mom, and it looked like he had, pretty good gaits. And I was like, I really liked his sire, Ibiza. And I'm like, you know what? So we just kind of bought him as a foal. And I figured, well, if he doesn't work out for me, it's probably would be pretty easy to sell him just because he's so unique looking with the white spots on him. And at the barn, we call him Spots. For his nickname, so it's his barn name is Spots. So
a sidebar, Amy, I also just bought a weanling because I met him and he was precious, and he's the little brother to my chestnut that I love. So this story is giving me hope because I'm like, this is potential. Like a crazy.
I'm telling you what, you never know. You never know. But it was like, you never know. So he grew up and he looked like he was going to be really nice, and he just has such a good, kind heart. He tries so hard. Sometimes he tries a little too hard, but he's also very playful and a little sassy, never anything mean or malicious. He likes his job. He likes to work, and he can kind of snake his neck a little bit and like hump his back and kind of act a little silly, but I don't mind that at all. He actually reminds me a lot of my horse Quileute that I bred myself to and raised him. They kind of have the same temperament, that little bit of a sassy streak, which also, you want to keep that because it helps later on when you start doing the really hard work. But yeah, he's such a pleasure to have. He's so sweet. I just love him.
I love it. So you had the privilege of working with Monica T. Rescue, right?
Yes, it was amazing. And
it was
going
cool.
into it, we didn't really know who we were going to be working with. So when I just showed up that day and I was kind of warming up in the ring on Monday, and I saw that Christine was teaching the person before me, but you never really know how they're going to be scheduling it, especially when you're like trailering in, and it's not like I was there for the rides beforehand or anything like that, because I was kind of like smack in the middle at the end of the morning. So I couldn't make the other rides in the morning. But yeah, when Monica got up to teach me, I was like really excited.
Yeah.
So it was cool. And I love Christine too. And I've worked with Christine several times on several other horses, and she is equally amazing, of course. But it was fun to work with Monica because I haven't had the opportunity to do that yet.
Yeah.
So.
I know. And tell us a little bit about because you guys, they did see you on Sunday. They saw you on a preview day, right? For a little bit of time.
Yeah, that's correct. So we came in, we had like a little 30-minute time spot to get the horses familiar with the ring. And I have to say it was a disaster because he was
he was wild.
Scared. He was terrified of the chairs because they were all stacked up in different piles. And he did not want to go down the one long side at all. And I'm just like, oh boy, this is going to be, this is not going well. So I think they were talking, and I think they had a whole like lesson plan based on him spooking, and they just assumed it was going to carry on the following day. And I didn't really know what to expect either. After that, I was like, oh boy, this is, you get that little bit of that pit in your stomach, and you're kind of like, oh boy, what did I sign up for here? But yeah, exactly. But he was so much better with the people there. I mean, he was a little looky in the very beginning, and we just kind of started running through the exercises that we had done the day before that Monica had suggested. And I just kind of started originally. Yeah. So he, like I said, he was really, really spooky off of especially the right side and the chairs that were stacked up. So, and rather than just, trotting around and circling, just doing your base trot, he would blow off the half halt and in essence, like run through my aids, not running, but like, trot through my aids and wouldn't listen to coming back, and would kind of, shy away to the left with his shoulder, and wouldn't go off my left leg, keep the bend or anything like that. So what she had me do is I'd be trotting around, and when I would get to a point where he was looking at something, just to walk. So walk and then start walking like a 10 meter to 12 meter circle, and having him coming back to face the area that he was spooking at. And then as soon as I'd feel him like bend and give to my inside leg, go ahead and start trotting again. And then if he spooked again, then we'd walk and we'd do the circle. So it was doing a few things, because first of all, he was running through my half halt. So it kind of set him back a bit so that he was really listening to my coming back aid. It also got me the opportunity to really get him around my inside leg when I did the circle. And it gave him a little bit more time to really take a good look at what he was so scared of. So it was like doing three things. And of course, through all of that, he was getting more engaged and more supple and listening to my half halts better. So it was kind of threefold, plus he could take a little bit more of a look and not wearing him out, like trotting. It gave him a chance to take a breath and take a look at things while I, in essence, was doing other things to help make him a little bit more accommodating, I could say, to what I was trying to do. So he had gotten better that day, still a little spooky, but then I started that immediately when I went into the ring doing the circles, even though it was at the walk, kind of when he'd start to look at somebody. And then by the end of the ride, or even actually I'd say maybe 10, 15 minutes into the ride, the half halt was so nice and so there. It's like he would actually just kind of set back, and I wouldn't have to even really do the circle unless I really felt I needed to reinforce that inside leg into the outside rein. So it really, really made the half halts work beautifully. So it was really good. So that was cool.
Yeah, it was really cool to watch. And like I said, we didn't see the day before, but you could see it all working. And it was really interesting to see how and I think this was kind of the theme of the whole weekend, which was you have to go to the basics. There's no point in going forward if you don't go to the basics. And, I think we all know that as trainers and riders, you hear that and you're like, yeah, basics. But then you're like, but I got to do the half pass, or I got to do this, or I have a crowd of people where I need to show. And they were like, nope, you're going to do this until it works. And then you do this because we have a system, we know the system, and we know the system works, which I thought was
absolutely
just really cool.
And it's like with him. Yeah, with him, especially in the canter work, because he's got such a big canter, it's been quite a challenge to get him to collect that canter and stay quick enough behind because he's just so big. Yeah. So just, with her having me do a lot of the counter canter to help engage the hind leg, and then also the 4-loop serpentines. Yes. And even when she had me do the transitions to walk on the center line during the serpentines, it really helped to set him back, keep him jumping, set him back at the counter canter as well. And then the transitions, being really quick with the transitions, made him really attentive and engaged again and light to my aids and quicker behind. So then when we got to the changes and things like that, he was already way better off my leg and way better off, with my half halt. So it just you started out basic counter canter, 3-loop serpentine, then you went to a 4-loop serpentine with a canter walk canter and just a ton of transitions. And you always think, I'm going to do transitions, but that was a lot of transitions, and then everything just kind of came together and it felt so much more fluid and so much more supple and so much quicker behind and attentive. So it's all about the basic. Yeah,
it was really cool. And they used a lot of counter canter, but I think it's important to note this was an FEI trainers conference. Like it was for FEI riders, trainers, and mostly FEI horses. We did see a couple we saw one youngster, but the rest were developing pre-St. George and up. So I do think that's important to note. Like they were working with they weren't working with the youngsters. This wasn't a young horse conference.
Yeah. They weren't just doing horses that were at second level and that's what they were doing in the test. They were using
and doing a ton of counter canter.
These basic different movements to help create a much more balanced horse, throughout the work.
Exactly. Yeah. Which I thought was awesome. Amy, did you get to see any of the other rides?
Yeah. On the second day, I saw part of Heather Bender's ride and JJ's ride. And I saw Kate Shoemaker's ride on the gray mare.
Oh yeah. It was fun to watch her. Like Monica worked with her and Kate Schumacher, she was the bronze medalist in Paris for para dressage, and she's wonderful. Yeah. And her relationship with that mare Vivienne was just cool to watch. Like it was just cool to watch, Monica work with her, because here you have one of the best trainers of all time. And then you have, number 1, number 2 in the world, doing what she was riding. It was cool. I kind of had goosebumps on that one. How about yourself?
No, I thought the mare was amazing and just so attentive, and in that kind of an environment. I mean, as I know, it's not so easy sometimes, with the horses, but she was just so attentive to her rider. It was so beautiful to watch. Yeah,
it was really, really cool. And did you get to see Olivia's ride, Olivia Legoy-Welts?
I did not, unfortunately. No, I was not able to.
Yeah, she was the last rider, and she was late in the day.
Right.
And it was cool to watch because it was similar to your horse. That mare lives at that farm. And now she had, 350 people in her arena. And it was fun to watch how Olivia took time. Because again, the mare, that's, I think in some ways harder. Someone did in your home. And she just
absolutely.
You're like in their home ring, so she came in and the mare, I think, was reserve at Small Tour at Festival last year. So it's an experienced horse, still young, but like your horse as well. Monica let her go through her warm up and very gradually built the mare up. And Olivia also is an incredibly accomplished rider, as all the riders were. I mean, the riding was so fun to watch. and to watch Olivia build that mare up, and how Monica sort of, she guided her, but she let her kind of do her own thing, which was really cool. It was really also just really interesting to watch because, you know, if maybe you didn't know the horse, you would think, oh, what's she doing that for? And then it was clear they had a really clear path on their development. So I thought that was fascinating. I mean, girl, it was a great conference. Fantastic. Yeah, it was a fun conference to watch and to just see the difference in all the horses. I thought was
and
really
to cool. Olivia's credit, I mean, I know how difficult it is when things change at home. Yeah. Because we used to horse shows at our farm all the time, and then all of a sudden the horses come out of the stalls and there's tents up, and then a ring is where it normally isn't, and they have to go into, you know, and then they're like, what are all these people, you know? So I totally get it. It is definitely harder for the horses that live at a facility, and then things are totally changed for a big event, because that can be very, very difficult for them to comprehend what's going on.
No, it was cool. And the whole conference was about basics and having your system and sticking with your system. I thought that was kind of the overarching theme. I get to watch a little bit more than you did because you were riding, but it was, I thought it was so well run, presented. USDF did a great job with everything, and to have the opportunity to participate in that this year was so amazing. So I'm really grateful for that. Well, Amy, we are so thankful for your time tonight. Thank you so much for coming on, and I can't wait to keep watching you in the ring and especially see how iSpy develops. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Chewy is your one-stop horse shop, from feed and supplements to supplies, medication, and more, delivered straight to your barn with fast, free shipping and orders over $49 and the convenience of auto ship. You will never have to worry about running out of brands you trust and the products you need. You can count on Chewy to keep your barn stocked and your horse happy. Start shopping today at chewy.com/equine. Megan, I did this earlier. I love Chewy. I did my Chewy order before I got on because it's great. And I get my dog food, and I also needed a supplement down here, and it's easier sometimes just to get it and have it come to the door. So I love Chewy. I love Chewy. I'm a great customer, literally. Big fan. So we're glad you're on board here with us, because we are. My husband's always like, oh my gosh, what are the Chewy boxes? I'm like, well, that's feed for the horses, and that's feed for Winston, our dog. So, and then there's cat feed. So yeah, it's amazing. So we're thankful to have them on. And we are going to have another amazing interview. This is near and dear to my heart, and I hope everyone enjoys this interview with Eliza Sydnor. She and I have been partners in crime on this project. She has done the heavy lifting with the equine survey, but I hope you can. This is a passion project for us, and we've been presenting it. Actually, this is like our fourth time in a week, so we're excited to be sharing this information. I hope you enjoy this interview. Well, tonight I am very, very happy to have my partner in crime for the last few lectures, Eliza Sydnor. She and I have spoken of the state of the industry at several different conferences now, and she really started this. I got to jump on and help, but Eliza, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
I know this is fun. Like, we have done this in we did it at a convention. We did it for the graduate young rider program. I was by myself for the certification lecture. That one was tough. I was like, can't we Zoom her in? But we're together again in a podcast. I mean, we've done it in all forms. And I just think what you've done and created is so cool. And we need to get this information out. So you are also a certified instructor through 4th level, FEI gold medalist, all the things. So I'm going to let you take it away and get us started of how we got to this place.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Reese and I have been having a really good time doing this together and getting this information out, which I think is really needed, and people are really excited to talk about this. So, okay, yeah, so this is how I got here. So I ran a busy training barn like so many trainers in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I had about 15 horses in full-time training. I had a live-in barn manager, a couple assistant trainers who helped me out, who were wonderful, wonderful clients, all of it. And I've been doing this for over 20 years professionally. And I decided to make a big change last year. And so I decided to become a freelance instructor, give up my beautiful barn that I had leased for many years, and no longer have full-time horses in training and employees and all of it. And so when I told, of course, my family and friends my decision, which had been many, many, many years in the making, there was not some giant problem that happened, but I told all my clients. And then at some point I thought, well, I should put something out on social media. And so I thought maybe I'll just write some like very upbeat, like, yay, new chapters kind of post. And then I thought, that's not really honest. That's not really how I feel. I feel a lot of feelings about this because, of course, it's a very big change for my life. And so I wrote a much more honest post about how I came to this decision. And I knew it would resonate with some people because, like Reese and I talk about this, lots of colleagues and I have talked about all these issues before. And I know everyone was dealing with the same things that I was dealing with, but I did not realize how much it would resonate with people. And so that post was on Facebook and it went viral for the horse world. There's like over 700 comments. It's been shared over 1,200 times. And so many comments and stories from people and really thoughtful comments, like the comment section is not a place you want to hang out, but these were really thoughtful comments, like paragraphs from people sharing their stories and from other professionals in different disciplines, not just dressage, young riders who want to get into this industry, but are looking at it and thinking, I don't know, adult amateurs who are saying, I hear you, what you're dealing with, but I don't know how I can pay more for board, and barn owners, and everybody was chiming in. So I kind of felt like I had accidentally surveyed the horse world at large and gotten all these stories, but I wanted to really survey people and get some hard data. So I put together a survey and just put it out there and got over 1,500 responses from all across the board, different disciplines, different people in the horse world, professionals who are trainers, barn owners, barn managers, everything. Yeah. And so we got a bunch of data, which is really interesting and led us to share that in these different formats. So yeah, like Reese said, at the USDF convention, the Young Rider Graduate Program, and couple different places now. So it's pretty interesting.
Eliza, tell us a little bit about the people that surveyed and that were in the survey.
Yeah. So I got 1,512 complete responses, meaning like I tried to make it clear that I wanted to hear from trainers, instructors, barn owners, barn managers. Even though I love the vets and the farriers, that's a very different business. So when I threw out some of the ones that answered who were, like body workers or farriers or whatever, I got 1,512 complete responses, about half dressage people, and the rest a good mix of eventers, hunters, Western, saddle seat, vaulting, everything from all over the country. So there were some people who responded who were from outside the country, but I threw those out because I really wanted this to just be focused on the U.S. And then a good variation of years of experience in the horse world, but mostly really experienced people. So the vast majority of the respondents had more than 20 years of experience in the horse world. Yeah. So a lot of different responses and a good cross section of people.
Yeah, for sure. So I think one of the top answers, right? Is this a job, a career, a calling? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to try to get to, because I didn't want this to be just focused on like, hey, are you making money or are you not making money? I mean, that's a very big piece of it, and we need to talk about that. But I realized that this is not just a job for most of us. This is a passion for sure. And so one of the questions was, why do you choose to work in the horse industry? What is it that you love? And so the top 5 answers were obviously number 1, love for the horses. We all just can't imagine our life without these horses. Passion for teaching and sharing knowledge, personal fulfillment and purpose, improving the horse and rider relationships, how important that is to people, that you help riders communicate better and improve horses' well-being. And then the independence and flexibility that comes with this job, right? You're your own boss and you can make your own schedule, and all of that is very appealing. So it really is a calling for most people. It's not just a job. And I'm very aware of that.
Right. Okay. So there's some bad news in all this, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's some bad news. So over 50% of respondents are not reliably making any profit in their business. And about 70% of the respondents do not pay themselves on any regular basis. Over 50% said they do not have one reliable day off each week. And just under 50% had not had any vacation time in the last 6 months. About 60% of people said they do not contribute to any retirement fund or put any money away into long-term savings. And almost 70% described themselves anywhere from somewhat to extremely burnt out. Mm-hmm. And so there were other things that we couldn't really measure as well that were stressful, like just the care of the horses in general, day to day, the pressure from clients, the stress in finding and managing employees, all these things. I think it just adds up to a fairly unsustainable picture for a lot of professionals, because if you can't make a profit and save for your future and maintain your mental and physical health, then no amount of love for horses is going to overcome those facts. So what we just talked about with how much people love it, and that's wonderful and beautiful, that is really important, but it's not important enough to overcome those other bad statistics that I just listed.
Right.
So,
yeah. So we talked about, or you talked about 4 main areas of concern. So can we move to that?
Yes. So when I dug through all this data, and I need to give a big shout out to this young woman, Ellie Kurtz, who's at the University of Southern California, who helped me analyze all this data because I had no idea what I was doing since I'm a horse trainer. So she helped me go through all this, and we tried to kind of wade through it and be like, okay, what are the real problem areas? So I would distill it into these 4: business management practices, long-term financial planning, figuring out how to make boarding profitable, and then managing employees. Those seem to be the biggest, most common 4 areas that people were really struggling with throughout the industry.
Yeah. Okay. So business management, friend, let's go.
All right. So business management practices. So what I thought was interesting is when I looked at all this data and thought, okay, so yes, a lot of people aren't making a profit, but let's look at the people who are making a profit, right? Which was only 43.48% of respondents. But why? Why are they making a profit, right? I went in with some assumptions like, oh, I bet they're in sales, or I bet they do a ton of clinics, right? And that was actually not true. I was wrong. So the businesses that made $70,000 to $100,000+ a year, all of them ranked themselves as fairly to very organized in their business management practices. And so the only commonality across all these different businesses that did make a decent profit was not their model, meaning they didn't just do sales or they didn't offer boarding or not offer boarding, whatever. It was that they were fairly to very organized in their business management practices, and they had many years of experience. That's what seemed to be the key. And so to me, business management practices means anything that's not the active care of the horses or the training or the teaching, right? So I would include in there like time management, long-term planning, your bookkeeping, your goal setting, working with other professionals like lawyers and accountants, managing your clients and your employees, doing your invoicing, doing your scheduling, all the stuff that's not riding a horse, feeding a horse, teaching a lesson.
Right. Yeah. It's huge. It's really, really huge.
Yeah.
And so you did talk about it because you don't necessarily have to like this, right? But you do have to do it.
Exactly. That was the big takeaway too, because one of the other questions I asked in the survey was, do you enjoy the business management aspects of running your business? And almost 40% of respondents said, no, I don't like that part. Right? Because most of us don't get into this business because we like running a small business. We get into this because we love riding and training horses. Yeah. But you have to get good at it. You do not have to like it. You have to get good at it, or you have to outsource it.
Right.
And so that was another big takeaway.
Yeah, which is important. All right. Long-term financial planning, the problems.
Yes. So again, some of the questions were, do you pay yourself on a regular basis, right? Almost 70% of people said, no, I do not. And a lot of people said, well, no, I don't pay myself, but I make whatever the business makes, right? I own this business. So whatever the profit is, that's my paycheck. And that's true, but you can't plan around a number that you don't know what it's going to be at the end of the year. So you can't plan how you're going to put money away if you are not paying yourself regularly. And then do you contribute to an IRA or another retirement fund for yourself? A lot of people said no for various reasons. Same with putting money away in long-term investments. And so when I delved into like, why don't you do these things? There were lots of answers that I'm sure will resonate with everyone. Like, hey, I don't make any money. What do you expect me to put away? I'll invest it when I pay off my debt. I'll invest it when I sell this horse.
Yeah.
I own my farm. So that's my retirement plan, right? I own this farm. My partner handles that. I don't need to worry about that. Everything that I make goes right back into this business because I love it so much and I need to invest in it. Or I have a lot of farm improvements, and when those are done, I'll invest. So yeah, that's never happened on any farm that I've ever been at.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah. And then just the education piece of it, right? I mean, again, we got into this because we love training horses and teaching riding, and we don't know where to start with IRAs and investments and the stock market. Like, I hear that and I hear like, wah, 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 wah. So that was a big answer too. And I totally get that. I feel all of these answers of why not to make these investments, I'm very empathetic to, but it's still a big problem because if you don't have these savings and emergency funds and retirement funds, what are you going to do down the line, or what are you going to do if you get hurt? So it's scary.
Right. And I think you brought it up both, and I think you and I both feel the same of my partner handles that. And we're like, it's 2025. Like that one was one we were, we both like, yeah, exactly, Megan.
What if they die? What if you get a divorce? Like, yeah. I mean, it's, or what if they say they're doing that and they're not very good at that? I mean, there's a lot of
things.
Like Reese and I both have said, like, yeah, our partners do that, and we're very grateful to them, and we're so thankful that they have a normal job and can do that. But you can't rely on that to be your only retirement account.
Right.
So.
All right. The next one, this is where I'm passionate too, because making board profitable, so long, so many people have said, well, boarding doesn't make money. And to me, that like hearing that statement puts a pit in my stomach, because we're not a charity, right? This is a business. So this one bothers me a lot. And in the clients I've been helping with the business consulting I've been doing, like, we look at this because this is not sustainable, right? This one's like cuts to my heart.
Yeah. Reese and I talked about this early on because we were like, the general wisdom is, well, you don't make any money on boarding. And that's just like a given. And then you stop and think, why? Why is that okay? Why are we okay with that as a model, that a whole big portion of your business loses money and you don't question that? That's crazy. So one of the questions was, do you feel that boarding is profitable for you? And the options were 1 to 5. 1 is, I know I lose money on boarding. 5 is, I make a good profit on each boarded horse. And no surprise, the biggest answers were 1 to 3, right? 3 would kind of be, I don't make any money, but I break even on each horse. Hardly anyone said they made a good profit on each boarded horse.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, some of the questions that immediately brings up is like, well, should you even offer boarding in your business model? Do you have to keep horses the way you're keeping them? Do your clients understand everything that goes into boarding a horse, right? Usually I hear from well-intentioned but uninformed owners who say, well, oh my God, grain and hay and shavings are not that expensive. And like, you're right, but that is not. That
is not it.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I mean, the the big question here is, should the barn owner subsidize other people's horses? Because that's what you're asking them to do. If board loses money every month, then you are asking whoever owns that barn or leases that barn, whatever, to subsidize your horses. And that doesn't make any sense.
No.
And then, there are other smaller questions like, could you improve your efficiencies of how you run the barn? Of course, I think all of us could probably do that. Are there other models that could possibly work, like a co-op model or a self-care model? Like, there are some creative ideas out there. And then just collaboration with other barns. Sometimes Reese and I talked about how we hear like people figure out what most of the barns in the area charge, and they charge like $25 a month less than that. And you think, no, now you're all losing, right?
Yeah,
like you're
exactly. It's not beneficial for anyone. Yeah.
Like, no.
What about raising prices? I find that very difficult for a lot of professionals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. And this is where it's like, it's not a complicated equation, right?
No.
Which side do you want to either add to the price that you charge people, or do you want to take away from the expenses that you have? And so most of the time, most of us who run barns, there is not a whole lot to take away from expenses, right? Like, we are not spending money willy-nilly. So then the most obvious thing is, and when I changed my business model, a lot of people said that, hey, look, if you're not making enough money, why don't you just charge more? And I get it. That is a very valid option, and people should probably charge more in general. But that's a big question because, of course, at some point, we are going to price a lot of people out. And so then how do you think about boarding on not just a simplistic equation of how do you make it be in the black, but how can it be affordable for a vast majority of people? And that is a very large nut to crack because sure, you can just increase the price. But at some point, if I increased it to what I should have been making or what I should have been charging, do I want a barn full of people who can pay, $1,500 a month just on board and then training on top of that? I mean, I had a barn full of lovely, wonderful clients, and some of them could have paid more, some of them could not. And that's a really hard one.
Yeah. And then, do you go to, like you said, turning horses out more? Maybe not keeping them like we keep them in Wellington, right? In Kentucky, we have turnout, and a lot of barns have gone to more turnout. The expense, but also the employees. There's ways to do it and to look into ways to help with the cost. So that is a whole nother topic, but it is. I mean, there is a level of, yes, you have to raise your pricing. And I do think you interviewed a trainer where she literally wrote out everything down to the laundry pods of what they use in their barn. And I think that was a great thing because then people can really see what it all costs, from the insurance to, the manure removal to fixing fence boards. I mean, just the normal things that happen. So,
yeah, that was really interesting. That was Kate Poulin, who is a dressage trainer in Ohio, and she was moving from one barn to the next, and the barn owner at the farm that was being built was a wonderful, very lovely lady who was happy to have boarders, but she was a businesswoman and she was absolutely not going to subsidize other people's horses. So she said, we got to figure out what board truly costs. And so Kate kept this spreadsheet for an entire year where she tracked every single expense, like Reese said, laundry pods, trash bags, all of it, everything from all the things you think of, like grain and hay and shavings, and then all the things you don't think of, like the taxes and the insurance and the, the tractor maintenance and all of it. And she let it be 100% open. Any boarder could come and look at it at any point, not only so that it was super transparent and they felt like, oh, wow, okay, I'm learning about all these things that go into it that I hadn't thought of, but also so if they thought that she was spending too much money on something, they could talk to her about it and they could bring it up. And all of them, when they moved into the new place, were like, yep, I get it. You charge what you need. And I'm happy because they knew what went into it. They knew how much work she put into it. and they knew it was very thought out and organized and certainly well managed. And so the board was really, really expensive at the new place.
Yeah, the new place.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, what did she come up with in terms of board just for her facility? Or do you not remember?
Yes,
Well,
it was $1,700 a month.
Yeah, I was going to say the average around the country is around $1,500, right, per month.
Yeah. In Wisconsin, we have an issue that board can be $150 to $2,200. Or that's a training barn, but I would say $1,200. So that's a big scale in terms of getting the community to work together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. And we have a similar kind of thing in North Carolina, right? Like you can find a field where somebody would be willing to throw grain on the dirt once a day, and they might only be charging you $350 a month, up to a beautiful, beautiful facility with covered arena and all the state-of-the-art footing and blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, that's what I mean. Like it's so awesome that Kate did that and made it so transparent. But then I'm also very realistic that there are plenty of people out there who they absolutely cannot pay $1,700 a month. Like, let's be real, that's not accessible to a lot of people. So then we need other models out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, which is good. All right. The next topic was managing employees. This kind of directly goes into boarding, right? This is it's a huge part of boarding for sure.
Yes. Yeah. And this is such, I think this was another thing that I was talking about with some of the people that were listening to this talk when Reese and I gave it down in Florida. And, they were asking about a lot of these things afterwards. And I was like, look, all of these problems that I'm outlining are really difficult problems. I am not trying to say that any of these have simple solutions, right? These are really complicated problems. I'm sort of putting all these out there, but I'm not saying I have the solution. So managing employees is a really big one. And it's probably the biggest one that I hear from employers as the biggest pain point. So in the survey, 52% of respondents had employees of some sort, full-time, part-time, whatever. And when the question was, describe your top problems with employees. And so these were the top 5 answers: reliability, right? No surprise there.
Yeah.
Work ethic, right? Finding employees with a good work ethic. Turnover, high turnover rates were really frequently mentioned. Just the wages and compensation, just how expensive it is. And then finding them. Where do you find them? So those were the top 5 most common responses. And this is a really tough nut to crack. And so I asked a lot of detailed questions about employees, like how much do you pay for full-time workers? How much do you pay for hourly workers? Do you provide any other benefits to your employees? And a lot of people did, like board for a horse or housing or maybe a car or truck or lessons or whatever. And the pay rates are totally across the board, which is not surprising because the answers were from all over the country. So of course it's different in different parts of the country. But one survey respondent had a really interesting answer to that question about what's your most common problem. She said the equine industry doesn't have an employee problem. They have a leadership problem. And I'm not saying I completely agree or disagree with that statement, but I read it and it struck me enough that I copied it and thought, all right. So because when people complain about this, most of the time you hear, well, nobody wants to work anymore. And kids these days, they don't have any work ethic. And, that's certainly something to talk about and discuss. I'm not saying that's not true. I've also found that sometimes, although when I stopped running my barn, my best employees were like a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 22-year-old. So there's great kids out there. But as an employer, I think it's our responsibility to really think about the role, the leadership role, and how do you do this so that you have happy employees who are willing to work hard and stay hopefully for longer than a few months.
Yeah. And working students, right? This model, is dying, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. And, when I was growing up, I was a working student with Reese's sister when I was like 13 or 14.
That's
And
right.
all over the country, right? I was a working student out in California for Lilo 4, up in New England, down in Florida, out in Germany, all over the place. And it's a wonderful model in so many ways, because one of the questions I ask people, do you offer a working student program? And about 36% of people still offer a working student program. So it's the minority of programs now. Mm-hmm. But when I said, why do you do it? Why is it a good deal for working students? Education is number one, right? Education and skill building, the riding and competition opportunities, the mentorship and the networking, having that personalized support, and then just the access to these really high quality training barns and facilities that some usually young person, could never get to if they weren't a working student. So it's still a viable option for some people and in some programs, but I do think it's dying as our model. And when Reese and I were young, it was a given, like you had to go be a working student. Like, I mean, unless you were independently wealthy, you just went and were a paid student, everybody went and was a working student. And so sometimes what I hear, especially from older trainers, is a lot of like, well, back in my day, I was grateful. I was grateful that I slept in the hayloft and I got to ride, the old horse twice a week. And I was grateful for that. And so this is where I think nostalgia really can work against us, because I'm not saying that that's not true. They did do that, and they did go through that, and that was often thought of as kind of the standard norm. But it's a good thing that is not the standard norm anymore, right? I think we can all agree that we should not make people live in the hayloft and work 80-hour weeks in exchange for 3 lessons. Like, that's horrible.
That's also not good. Yeah. There's a balance.
Yes. Yes. So there's, that can die. That old model can die. That's okay.
Yeah. That can go.
But that model is still what a lot of people kind of modeled their business off of, that you would have workers who handled a lot of the work and you would not pay them. You would have them live there and you would teach them. And I think if you're really, really clear and you outline everything, it's still a viable option. My working students did get paid a little bit, but I tried to outline everything. Like, here's the value of the lessons you're getting, the board, the housing, the pack stall at a show, me trailering you to a show, me coaching you at a show. Like, you get to ride in clinics. You get, I tried to outline everything that they would get, and then what I would pay them, along with all of the expenses that were covered for them, added up to a good deal, and they could decide if they wanted to take that deal or not. But yeah, it's definitely a dying model.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think this all, plays also into the horse welfare, right? Burnout. And this is an important thing that we talked about.
Yeah, I really want to take a second and think about that, because, horse welfare is first and foremost for almost all of us who love horses and do this professionally, as it should be. And it's very much in the media right now of making sure that horse welfare is first and foremost. And so if you think about all these things we've been talking about, all of these things are going to affect horse welfare. If you can imagine for a minute a trainer who has poor business management practices and is disorganized, they're losing money on boarding, they just lost another employee, they don't have anything in savings for a rainy day, they're stressed mentally and their back hurts. Like, how's it going to go for that horse when they get on and they feel pressure from an owner to teach it flying changes in a month or whatever? Like, I don't want to be that horse.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, just also the burnout of the people. Like, this is important. Like, the whole picture leads to this, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Or if you can picture the opposite, like someone who's organized and, their business is making a tidy profit and they have a really great team that's supportive and they have money stowed away for a rainy day and they're mentally and physically healthy. Like if they feel pressure from some owner to do something that they don't agree with, they're probably going to keep the horse's welfare absolutely in mind and say, nope, this is not the right fit for my program, and, do the right thing for the horse. And so it's not a black and white issue. Reese and I have talked a lot in the past about, like, when you think of these terrible stories, there's a few just awful people out there. Like there's just some really awful people who are willing to do terrible things to horses. But for the most part, most people are not evil people. They have gotten frustrated. They have gotten, angry. Their body hurts. Something has gone wrong. And it's not an excuse. I'm not giving anyone a free pass on ever doing something unkind with a horse. But I'm just saying there are reasons that happens. And we need to look at the underlying reason and not just vilify the person for it.
Right. Can we help them? Yeah. So we do have some ideas. All right. We don't want to always be a Debbie Downer. Like we have some ideas on it can help. And again, kind of listening, we hope listening to our podcast, twice a month kind of gives you, it can help with some ideas and some things. But Eliza, we have some other, and you had some really good ideas here too.
Yeah, I know. Reese and I are always laughing because we're like, we're actually really positive people.
Yeah,
we feel like
get
we're
to this
giving all
point.
this information.
Yeah, we get to this point.
Terrible.
We're like, let's give some good news and some help options.
Yeah.
What's our future look like, ladies?
Yeah. That's what's been fun about this project is as I kind of went through all this data and, figured out these 4 areas, then I started interviewing people in each of these areas who are doing a really, really good job. Like, let me talk to someone who is just badass at business management. Let me talk to even a young person in their 20s who already is like putting away tons of money for retirement. How are they doing that? Let me talk to somebody who is actually making money at boarding, right? Like, so I've chatted with different people, and I'm going to be doing a series of articles for the Chronicle of the Horse in each of the 4 areas. So the one on long-term financial planning is going to come out hopefully this week. So you can look out for that.
We'll have you back on. We're in this project. This is my platform, so I get to help. I get the word out this way. But we'll have her come back on too to talk a little bit more about each.
Yeah, because as we said, each of these areas are huge problems. So we could talk for, there's giant books written about each of these areas. But the main piece that Reese and I want to get out there is the number one thing to do is collaborate among trainers. Like that's the biggest takeaway is talk with your fellow trainers, find
barn
people
owners
in your area who you connect with other barn owners. Yeah. So whatever your area is, if you're a trainer, talk with other trainers and put together a group, even if it's just as simple as a text thread or get together at shows or whatever. If you're a barn owner, talk with other barn owners in your area. Maybe you can collaborate and share, you have an awesome part-time employee, but they want a full-time job. Great. Maybe they could do another part-time job for the barn down the street. So collaboration, I think, is the number one thing. It also makes it makes you realize you are not alone in struggling in these areas, because that's the other big thing that the survey showed is like, a lot of times you think, man, like, look at them on Instagram with their fancy ribbons and whatever, and they're killing it. Like, nope, less than 50% of people are making a profit at this. So get together. Some other ideas that we talked about are, especially as trainers, maybe having like professional only clinics where you can get together with other trainers and bring in a professional and collaborate like that and have a fun weekend of education, and also then talk about some of these issues at lunch and in between rides and stuff. There's a lot of Facebook groups out there. There's the Grumpy Barn Owners for barn owners.
Funny.
There's the young-ish equine professionals forum that we're all in because we're young-ish. And then there's, of course, your local groups, right? Like your GMO. For me, it's NCDCTA. And for Reese, there's the Kentucky Dressage Association. So there's always your local group, which hopefully is doing some cool things. Like with NCDCTA, they have done some professional development courses or classes that they've made free to professionals because of funding from the Dressage Foundation. So that was awesome. I just did one of those a couple months ago at Elon University, which was just so much fun. And it was eventers and jumpers and dressage people. And we got together for a whole day and just talked about how we could run our industry better. And so it was so fun and so worthwhile. So collaboration, I think, is the biggest takeaway to start working on.
I love it. I love it.
Can I pipe up too? In doing my part, I started a YouTube channel called Barn Besties for collaboration for people who may not have a good environment that they're in, or maybe they're just stuck in a state like Wisconsin and they're very much alone. So you can check that out as well. I really want to know about the Dressage Foundation and the university you went to, so I'm going to text you or email you later. But yeah, definitely collaboration. And I think what's also important, we're a community. We should all do our part, not just you and Reese. You know, that if we could all look for ways to make changes, I think that would be really important.
Yeah. We're here for it. We've been running these classes, and we want. I mean, that's what we're doing. We're putting a lot of hours into this just to get people and get the information out, because it's there. You know, information is there, but it's hard to gather it, or it's hard to interpret it. Or again, we're all tired. We're all working. We're all doing the things. You know, and both Eliza and I are here. I mean, this is why I've had some wonderful listeners contact me about my business consulting, but this is why I started it, because I actually started it right around the time Eliza put this out. I was already thinking about just, gosh, you know, we are lucky because we have a great community from a course or we did the Young Dressage Horse Trainers Conference. That's how Megan and I became friends and better friends. We knew each other, but we were roommates at that conference for 10 years. And Eliza, also, we knew each other, but that was, I think, taught us all about the collaboration and having people to be with you and people to call. So we are very lucky that we have people to call and resources, but a lot of people don't. So we, as a community, all three of us are here. Eliza, how can people find you? Also, Megan and I give out our contact information. We can do it again. But how can our listeners find you online? You know, if they have any questions or want, I mean, this is an amazing talk. We basically just went through our talk. I teased Eliza. I was like, can you please print that out so I have it in like printed version? And thank you, Eliza, for bringing it to the conference. Yeah. But Eliza,
my analog friend.
I know. I'm like, I need a paper version. By the way, it's like the fourth time I pulled it out. I love the paper version. So how can our listeners find you online? And we really are here to help. That's what we're doing this for. And how can they get some help from you as well? Yeah.
So my website is ElizaSydnorDressage.com. Just head to my website. You can email me from there. My phone number's on there. I'm super accessible and easy to call or find me on Facebook. I'm all over the place. But yeah, I've gotten really passionate about talking about this and talking with different people. And one of the questions that I've been asking people is like, what is the future of dressage that you want to help create? And so at the beginning of this talk, we asked the question, the future of the dressage world is what? And a lot of the answers are negative, right? They're like, imperil, fragile, you know, screwed, all these bad words. And then at the end of the talk, we say the slightly different question of the future of the dressage world I help to create is what? And just rewording the question like that, all the answers are beautiful. It's
I know.
Sustainable, accessible, you know, kind and horse-centered, and all these beautiful, beautiful answers to that question. So that has really inspired me and given me a lot of hope, because people are really passionate about making the future of the dressage world and the horse world at large better. And any way we can help, happy to do it.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you, friend. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. And we hope we helped some people tonight for sure.
For first-time horse owners and new riders, finding the information and support you need can be challenging. That's why Equine Network has partnered with Sentinel and Absorbine to bring you My New Horse. From important horsekeeping information and how-to videos to social media communities, exclusive experiences, and more, My New Horse is your one-stop shop for riders of all levels and disciplines looking for easy-to-understand horse care information and guidance. Start your horse ownership journey today. Visit mynewhorse.com.
Well, Megan, we are excited about our new book club book of the month, January through March, Build a Better Athlete with Leslie Webb. So I am excited to share this one. And we just wrapped up Janet Foy's, and that was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed that book. So we hope everyone enjoys the new book. And as always, you can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our page at horseradionetwork.com. Search Dressage Radio Show. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
And my website is lindenhoff.com, and my email is lindenhoffllc@gmail.com. We'd like to thank our friends and show sponsors, Kentucky Performance Products and Chewy. If you'd like to support our show and the Horse Radio Network, you can do that through the auditor program found at horseradionetwork.com. Keep on kicking on until the next show. Talk to you soon. Woohoo!
Yay!